Hello, Mr. Speaker. How are you? It's your favorite president. Well, thank you for maintaining your sense of humor. I think it's an important part of what we do. Yes, I am here in the woods. It's absolutely beautiful, a little bit of rainfall, and I feel very, very blessed indeed to be here. And I'm hoping you have some time to talk about my vision for space. I think the time has come. Well, I agree. And honestly, it's always been a case with me of trying to balance being a visionary, for lack of a better word, and also being very practical. I totally agree. And I think in past generations, we've always kind of viewed space exploration as from the world of science fiction, and it's definitely food for the imagination. But in terms of the practicality of it and how it can serve the world, and make us a better people, a more noble people, I think we're really there. So I really feel very honored to put forth this vision. And frankly, Mr. Speaker, I want to share it with you first because I want to give you an opportunity to kind of mull it over. I'm going to be speaking to the nation in a couple of weeks, and I just feel it's the right thing to do to share it with you first because I will need your I'm going to need your help. Okay? We're going to do it the right way, the constitutional way. And the American people are going to know about it throughout. Absolutely. So let's get started. There are really two parts to my vision. I'll begin with the first. Number one, there's going to be something called the Space Adventure Fund, and it's going to be created by the United States Treasury. And the purpose of this is to allow the American people, who will be the majority shareholders of the fund, as well as international investors, including nations, as minority shareholders to allow us to do what we need to do in bringing back good, clean energy from space. And the Space Adventure Fund is going to be dedicated to that with the excellence, the, the scholarship, and the scientific know-how in a way that's never been accomplished before. But it's going to require great wealth. And I really believe the whole world needs to rally around this effort. The flagpole of the United States is going to be placed at the center of this effort. And as you know, the United States is an idea. And I think over previous years, we lost that idea of being a great idea. And nothing gets the world more excited and more supportive of the United States than in seeing us as a great idea. And I really want to give the world an opportunity to share in the greatness of the United States, not just through talk, but actually through investing in our country. Right. But at the same time, I'm very protective of the United States so that the majority shareholder will be the United States and the minority shareholders will be other nations around the world. Thank you. Oh, you're so kind. I really don't want to get too nerdy about it, if you don't mind, because I think I lose everyone when I start getting into the details of things. Yeah, I learned that lesson a couple of years ago. But just in brief, the United States really, for the last 100 years, has sort of floated its economy based upon debt. We auction these bonds on Wall Street. And I mean, there was a time for that, and we're going to continue in that space for a while because honestly we're always going to make good on our debts, but slowly we need to move into more of an equity fund. Right, so the United States is not a purveyor of debt but really a holder of value, and that's why this fund is going to be so absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be very, very careful and protective of it so that while Wall Street may touch upon it, maybe to some extent, maybe in a fund that's sort of in a junior class. Again, I don't want to get too nerdy about this, but right, I want the Treasury to handle it so that you can essentially buy it over the counter. Nations around the world are going to be putting a lot of money into this fund. You are going to see the world so excited about America again. Everything has been about here. We've been too terrestrial. We need to get the world looking up. Right. We've been looking down at our cell phones for the last 25 years. As we start looking up, right, we're going to get the world extremely excited, but it's more than an emotional thing about, hey, America has a great idea about going to space. No, we're going to underpin this with the best science the world has ever known. And the very first stages of it are going to be highly practical because the maiden journey of this fund is to start bringing back good energy to the world so we could replace these antiquated, right, power grids. Well, I think it's going to be solar. I mean, common sense should prevail here. We have a great deal of experience here on the Earth in dealing with solar, and we're going to get a lot closer to the sun. We'll probably bring it back by laser, and it's going to be fantastic. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. Oh, you want details? Are you sure I'm not going to get too nerdy? Okay, so I'll make this quick. I promise, okay? So the Federal Reserve up until now, they hold these, right, they're either buying or selling bonds, which affects the reserves of our banking system, which in effect changes the interest rates, right, as they buy or sell these debt holdings, right? So we're going to move off of that so that our banks are going to be investing in an equity fund. Do you understand? Okay, right. And principally, their reserves are going to be affected, which will in turn affect interest rates in a similar way. But instead of investing in debt, we're going to be investing in equity. Right. And the fund is called the Space Adventure Fund because I think, if anything, the world is ready for an adventure. This is a renaissance, and that's exactly where we are. Good. Okay, are you ready for part two? Okay, part two has something to do with an old idea that's been around probably since, oh my goodness, the days of old, right? Right. Well, gold has always been valued so supremely, and currencies, including ours until 1972, were pegged to the gold standard. Correct. President Nixon took us off the gold standard. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the idea. As we begin extracting space, energy, there's always something called a byproduct, Mr. Speaker. Whenever you extract space, you harness and bring it down, there's always going to be a byproduct. Right, by the system, the technology that we're going to use. So these byproducts are going to be tangible. And some of them may actually be beautiful gems. And in some cases, they may be in a gaseous state. Exactly. But they are things that could be measured. So as we bring back these souvenirs from our space work, which involve our energy independence, we're going to exactly use them to peg our currency. Ta-da! Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, these ideas come to me, and I kind of kick them around with my staff, and I do believe in keeping things as simple as possible. And I think as far as the Space Adventure Fund is concerned, it alone is absolutely fabulous, but the real glory is when we start bringing back these trappings of our success in space. Hmm. Well, I don't know if we're going to get off. I think gold could actually be a minor part of our portfolio in terms of underpinning our dollar here, but it's really going to be a part of the portfolio, whereas these new space byproducts will be the primary components of it. Hmm. Well, I actually hope other countries do the same. Hmm. Right, we're setting an example for the world. And what's really interesting about this two-part plan is those countries that invest in our space exploration fund, I want them to benefit as well. Correct. And I think there could be some incremental relationship. to the extent that a country invests in our space exploration fund, I think in a sort of a proportional fashion, they should actually be rewarded for that investment, not just in terms of their capital investment and making money on the fund, but in terms of just what we bring back from this great adventure. Correct. Correct. So the United States is going to be in a much better position to help the world because our wealth, in a sense, is going to become infinite. And exactly. And it has to be the United States because we have the Constitution and the nobility, I pray, to really be the beneficiaries of this. Good. And I do like to summarize. So let's just end our conversation with a brief summary, okay? So we're talking about a two-part plan. Part one involves the Space Exploration Fund, better known as the Space Adventure Fund. That's probably going to be the name, right? Good. So the idea again is to get us off of debt and to move into an equity fund where our banking system is investing its reserves in an equity fund. Don't worry about Glass-Steagall. Don't worry about the McFadden Act. No, it's not. No, because the U.S. Treasury has every legal right to do what we're going to do. And we're going to create a subcommittee in Congress to allow the United States people with full transparency to see literally 24 hours a day what we're up to. Good, good. Okay, so the Space Adventure Fund gets us off this addiction to debt, creates this concentric force in the world where nations, including the United States, of course, the majority shareholder, are investing in a fund which is dedicated primarily in its early phases to bringing energy back to the world. Correct. Solar is going to be where we'll start. On the other side, part two, we have something really, really interesting. The byproducts of this program are going to bring back actual tangible substances that, much like what gold was used for in the past, will actually begin to peg our US dollar. And won't that be exciting? Okay. Well, you are very welcome. It's been a great honor speaking to you. And I'm going to sign off because I have some guests coming. I'll be back in Washington very, very soon. And at that time, I look forward to meeting with you. Thank you very much. Well, God bless you too. And we'll be talking soon. Bye-bye.